My name is Janet Behrens. I am the principal of Iowa Valley's junior senior high school, so I have grades 7 through 12. I grew up in Marengo. I was born here in 1965. At that time, the hospital was where everybody was born, and I went to all of my grade school and high school years here. So I graduated in 1983 from Iowa Valley High School. I landed my first teaching job in Newcomb, New Mexico on the Navajo Indian Reservation. The school is beautiful. I can be a PE teacher, which is what I want to do, and I get to be a head girls basketball coach. And it was hard. I did want to quit when we first started those first practices, and we were just horrible. And I remember calling my mom and saying, "We are so bad. I want to quit." And she's like, "No, you said you're going to stay." She said, "You need to record them." And I was like, "Record what? Like, there's nothing to record. They're terrible." And I did what she said. And then, 8 years later, we were one of the best teams in the state of New Mexico. So I met my husband, actually, my senior year of college. We were in a wedding together. Well, when I first saw him, I thought he was a jerk. But before the weekend was over, I was like, I really liked him. And so the rest is kind of history. But unbeknownst to him, he ended up being a teacher. He taught language arts, social studies, and became the boys basketball coach in New Mexico. So we were both head coaches in New Mexico the last 4 years that we were there, of the 8 that I was there. We both applied for teaching licenses in Iowa, and he was from Illinois, so we applied for Illinois. And we were basically in a position, it's like we were going to take whatever we got that would put us closer to family. We got there, I was teaching PE, my husband was teaching PE. He was working with the boys coach. I was the head girls coach. And when I found out I was pregnant with the twins, we as a family made the decision that he was either going to have to, come over to my side and be my assistant, or one of us was going to have to get out of coaching, because we're going to have 3 little kids. And so he opted to come over and be my assistant coach. We were going to have our immediate family Christmas that night. And I got home and Scott wasn't there. And I was like, that's odd, because he knew we were going to do Christmas and he wasn't there. And so I called his phone. And when I called his phone, a state trooper answered. Not a good night. It was a lot of weather. There was a lot of black ice and there was a lot of wind. And he was coming off of a really tough curve on the way home, and he was hit head on. I went to the girls and I said, we'll cancel the tournament. And both of the twins, Sydney and Shelby, were like, "Mom, we can't do that." And I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "Dad would kill us." And so we did it. We played. And it was the hardest thing ever, was to walk back in that gym without him. So we played the best games of our life during that time, but that seat sat empty. Sorry. And we did okay. It was tough. The hardest thing was, like, people were very respectful of our program, and they were very respectful of me and what we'd accomplished at Salem. And so every time we walked in a gym, they wanted a moment of silence, or present you with this or present you with that. And it was like finally to the point where I had to call and say, "I am so thankful for the respect, but please don't. We know he's missing, but we don't need a reminder before every tip off." And so that was, hard. That was the hardest part. We have to be thankful for what we had. We had great years, and we're thankful for that. We know that your father would expect us to keep going, because that's how we were raised. That's how we were taught. You find a way, you never forget, but we did it. We had our moments, but did it make me a stronger person? Yeah. Did it make my kids stronger? Yeah. Do we miss him? Yeah. Every day. I knew at that point I wanted to be closer to my family. Never envisioned that I would land after all, it's 29 years later, I landed back in my hometown. I landed in as a biology teacher after teaching PE for 29 years. I had my administrative license. I got my administrative license in 2005 with no intention of becoming a principal. I literally got my master's because I wanted to move over on the pay scale, and that was my intention. That was it. And Sean then had told me that he was leaving, but that they wanted me to apply for the next principal of Iowa Valley. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring and see what happens. I don't know, I guess there is such a thing as fate, because it all worked out, and it's the best decision I ever made.